Question du jour. That sounds good. I'll have that. Question of the day. What is your favorite dice placement game? Now, there are a lot of these now. The first one I played was Kingsburg. It was a natural. I loved it, saw the recommendations, and bought it immediately. Kingsburg is a great game. What is your favorite dice placement game? Let me know in the comments below, because today we're looking at Eternal Palace from Alley Cat Games. Now, I love the genre of dice placement. I love worker placement, only beaten by dice placement. Something about it. Even if they're just dice and not cool little meeples and workers or plastic pieces. Dice, to me, I love the idea of dice placement because it elevates the idea of worker placement, because where you put them based on the numbers matters. And so today we're looking at this game from Alley Cat Games, in which where you place them based on the numbers does in fact matter. How you group them matter. So let's take a look how the game plays. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. All right, before we go any further in the review, don't forget to check out the Dice Tower merch store at dicetowerstore.com. The production is happening right now and orders will be shipped out very soon. Can't wait to show this off for you on camera, as well as get those Christmas holiday orders in as soon as you can, so that we can get those shipped out to you for a friend, family member, or just a treat yourself moment like in Parks and Rec. So let's take a look at Eternal Palace, how it plays right now. All right, so this is Eternal Palace set up for 2 players. It is a long board, so I'll show you the top in just a minute too. Well, it's not super long, it's just a 2-fold, but you can't see it in this one shot, I should say. Start, you put 3 advisors over here, shuffling the advisor deck. 3 because we're playing with 2 players. It's the amount per player is +1. You have all the resources over here. You've got these, which to be honest with you, I don't know what a Kaolin is, but anyway, you got that, and you put 1 of each resource on the types out here. This is going to be a place where you pay the resources to gain a painting piece, plus move up on the Imperial track, plus to get one of these cool little plastic pieces here. The base game has cardboard punch-outs for those, but if you have the upgraded one, that's what you get. It is a Kingsburg type dice placement game. You're going to roll the dice first. That's the first phase. You're going to count your total amount. So we have 12 here. You're going to compare that to the other person. The person with the lowest amount will go first in the player track, which is up there just off frame. Then you're going to put your dice behind your screen. Now, we're not going to do that right now. I'm just going to show you right here. And you're going to make little packets of dice. You could do singles, you could do doubles, triples, quadruples, in fact. Because what essentially happens is you can only go with those dice to the number they are. Now, granted, you start with a couple wisdom as well as some fish. Wisdom will allow you to manipulate the dice up and down. Now, you can change a 1 to a 6 by spending 2 wisdom, but normally you'd go up or down 1 for a wisdom. Fish come in handy because you have to pay fish in order to go where a player is, including your own. So if you're already here at 6, and I want to go there again with these 2 to make 6, I would have to pay a fish. And that applies if there was another player there, you'd have to pay again, so 2 fish. The fish doesn't go to the player, it goes to the bank. Now this symbol means you give it to the player in order to get this benefit. That's what these advisors do. Some of them have instant action, some of them have ongoing power. So these are really great. And there's a list of what they all do in the book. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to place your dice out. Now, when you place the dice, you're going to take the action. I'll go through the actions really quick of 1 through 12. And then also the Eternal Bridge there, which is any number. But essentially, you're going to be placing these out. And then when you place, you're going to move your token up on that track. Once you hit the end of the track here, if you're the first one to do it, you get a feature piece. Now, that's things like trees and statues and really cool buildings to go in your painting. Because what you're doing is you're making a painting of the Eternal Palace here. Now, everybody gets a painting and an easel, and you're going to be building that out with these painting pieces here, as you see here. Now they're numbered 1 through 12, and there's 1 for the expansion and 1 for the Eternal Bridge. You're going to be putting these out. It's got a really great display here, so 1 through 12, and then the EB and the X. And you can look at it from here to see kind of how it's going to look. This is a little bit more layered because it's obviously done with the tracks, but you're going to be putting these flat against each other on your painting piece. When you gain a painting piece, you'll take the appropriate number, put it on your piece. And at the end of the game ends when someone has 8 painting pieces. Now, not features, but painting pieces. Then you're going to count points at the end of the game. Everything is a point, basically, that you collect during the game. Not resources and not wisdom and fish, but these plastic pieces are a point. Your number on the track up there is a point, as well as your painting pieces and features are a point as well. So 1, you're going to go here. You're going to draw 3 advisor cards. You're going to keep 1, put 1 in discard, and 1 on the top of the deck. You can choose to either just pay 3 fish to take one, or you pay the resource showing and gain 3 fish. So this one would take any resource, that takes a wood, etc. 2 is similar, but you're going to use wisdom instead. You can pay either 2 wisdom to gain one of the face-up ones, or pay the resource shown and gain 2 wisdom. 4, 6, 9, and 11 are all place the dice shown here and get the resources shown. If you go there with 1 dice, you get 1 wood. If you go there with 2, so 2, 3 and a 1 or 2 and a 2, you gain 3 wood, and that applies also for 4, 6, 9, and 11. 3, 5, 8, and 10 are you're going to pay the resource that's here. So once the first person pays it, it would only cost 1. Now it's going to cost 2. If you wanted to do this space again, it would cost 4 now. So that's how those work. And when you do those, you instantly take the painting piece associated with that number. You'll also move up on the imperial track. That's the track up there. And you'll take the wooden or the plastic piece shown. So this would be this first one. You'll keep this. Now, the next person who goes there will take this back from you, which is why you'd want to go there for maybe a second time, is to take that piece back from them. You'll also get the appropriate piece immediately, 3, 5, 8, or 10 to put in your painting. So that's what those do. 7 is the Temple of Wisdom. You go there with numbers that equal 7, a 3 and a 4, a 2 and a 5, and a 6 and a 1. Once you've done this twice, putting 2 markers out, you'll take, if you're the first one, the feature token. Otherwise, the second time you do it, you'll gain the painting piece regardless. 12 is similar to that. You're going to place either 2, 3, or 4 dice, and you'll get to choose either 3, 4, or 5 of the things shown here. Different ones, of course. And then the Eternal Bridge, essentially you're going to put a single dice there, and you'll move up that track, as many as that is, collecting whatever resources. Once you hit the end of the track, you'll get the EB piece as well as the feature if you're the first one there. There are a couple spots at the very top of the board that anybody can go to. No payment, no fee. If you go there with 1 dice, you can choose either 2 fish or wisdom. If you go there with 2 dice, you can choose either a resource of your choice or 2 fish and or wisdom. At the end of the game, the person who has the most continuous numbers in their painting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, will gain the longest painting track, and the first one to complete it will gain this as well. That's worth a point. The furthest on the Imperial track will gain 3 points. The person with second highest on the track, as long as they're halfway to the first, will gain a point. That's the main way to play the game. You'll collect points. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins the game. So that's Eternal Palace. It is a fantastically great concept to use dice placement. So how does it work in this game? Well, let's talk about the mechanics second. Art direction, then mechanics. It's kind of that flow we do, because art and mechanics are the two opposites, but art direction is what ties them together. That is the flow of my reviews. Art looks great. I love the painting pieces. At the end of the game, your painting looks different than someone else's, and it looks great. And it could potentially score you more points based on how well you did collecting those pieces. So the game looks great. The art on the board looks great. It's a beautiful game. So enough said about that, really. It just looks great. Now, art direction. Now, this is the only thing that I've got to ding it for. Some of the symbols are a little confusing at first. Now, granted, there's a great symbol list in the book for what things do. So don't get hung up on that. You're not having to constantly look and be like, what does this do? Except for a few of the advisor cards. You kind of have to look those up and see, okay, well, now that I know that symbol, I know what this does. So it's not a steep learning curve, but just know that you'll have to look up the first time you play a couple of the things and be like, what does that mean again? But the art direction really does flow well. Every time on one of the banners, it shows you take a painting piece, take the feature, and then take, maybe the little plastic token, or move up on the Imperial track. So it is pretty straightforward, which funnels directly into the mechanics of the game. Again, I love dice placement. I love this one that you have to choose how you're grouping them before you show them, which means your wisdom is very important, because you might have chosen something thinking you can go there on 6, but you don't have a fish to pay. So then you're like, okay, I can pivot and make this a 7 if I need to. So I love the idea to be able to manipulate the dice placement after you've chosen your sets and after you've made your choices. Because again, in Kingsburg, remember, you roll the dice and you can choose on the fly. This one, you have to choose essentially how you're grouping your dice and then reveal. To me, that is a really cool mechanic that forces you to think ahead in the turn, but also gives you enough wiggle room to move stuff on the fly. I really like this game. I think this could potentially be a Kingsburg killer for me, because I love the idea of collecting those painting pieces. I do like the painting piece holder, because it's easy to set up and easy to disassemble. At first, not disassemble, easy to put back. I really thought at first this was going to be a nightmare until I realized that it's made to stack, and then you just take them off and go and you're done. So the game looks great. It plays great. If you're a fan of dice placement, 100% get Eternal Palace. If you're not a fan of dice placement, I think this one's got enough different in the mechanics to where if you're a fan of worker placement, you'll like this one anyway. So Eternal Palace is a big win for me. It's an 8.0 for me for my rating. Great game, looks great, fun to play, has a lot of interesting mechanics, as well as some of the expansion stuff that comes in it as well. So Eternal Palace, Alley Cat Games, 8.0 from me, Brian Drake, here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. Till next time, we'll see you.